Here's the 3-2. Baez drives one in the air. Deep left field. There goes Pregame. That ball is going for a home run. Javier Baez with a home run to left. Cubs lead 1-0. Javier Baez has just turned Wrigley Field inside out. 2 outs, tying run at second. And the 2-2 to Pence. Bouncer toward the middle, fielded by Baez. Running throw to Rizzo. He is out at first base, and the ball game is over.
This is Cubs Postseason Live, presented by Fields Auto Group.
Another festive night, electricity in the air as the Cubs look to grab a 2-0 lead in this best-of-5 National League Division Series against the San Francisco Giants. And welcome into Wrigley Field, Cubs Postseason Live, brought to you by our fine partners at the Fields Auto Group. He's Todd Hollandsworth. I'm David Kaplan. Last night, it's a 0-0 ball game. You and I are down the line here, and the ball Javi Baez hit right off the bat. We thought, way out of here, maybe to the street. The next thing you know, looked like Angel Pagan had a beat on it.
Well, it was amazing, the reaction inside Wrigley Field. You know, everybody thought the same thing. That ball's gone. Wait a minute. It's up in the air for a long time, and there was almost a second, maybe a second and a half of suspended time. It's exactly the way to describe it, where everybody just kind of took a deep breath, stopped what they were doing, and waited to see the result. And as soon as that ball hit the basket, this place was shaking. I mean, there was so much cheer, so much excitement in this building. Absolutely incredible experience. What a feeling to almost feel an earthquake, really, last night.
It was unbelievable. We want you to get interactive with our show. That means you go on your mobile, your tablet, your laptop, go to csnchicago.com/vote. You do not need a special app. In a few minutes, we will give you one of our poll questions. You will see the results as they are tabulated right on your screen. Now, let's get back to Javi Baez. So, last night, I couldn't go to sleep when I got home. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm laying in bed watching MLB Network, watching CSN, watching everything I can get my hands on. And one of them had the launch angle and the exit velocity of the ball off Javi Baez's bat. 107.4 miles an hour, and it should, according to StatCast, have gone to Waveland Avenue, 381 feet minimum.
Right.
It barely got out, and Javi pimped it as well as you can at home plate.
Yes, he did.
Oh, my goodness. I almost would have looked like an idiot if that had happened and not gotten out. You see something like that, you see this, you relax, and the Giants feel like we had our shot. Right?
Well, absolutely. Well, there's no doubt. I mean, we went back to a couple points in last night's ball game and talked about where, the Giants maybe missed on a couple opportunities to score. Now, that ball right there, and that's the thing about Wrigley Field, that I don't know if it is everywhere. We know about the winds here, but at night, you think about that crosswind. Not everybody in this building was even feeling that. You and I weren't feeling that breeze last night. Anybody really on the interior of Wrigley Field didn't. But from the left field foul pole across to the right field foul pole, you felt that cool breeze. It was definitely a different day. We talked about it. Right now, a little chilly out here. 2 days ago, 80 degrees. It's probably on Waveland, and it barely gets out yesterday. So, yeah, man, hold your breath. He got it done, got it into the basket. But I'll tell you what, man, the Giants, they did miss on a couple opportunities in games like that. In fact, the last 6 games between these two teams, Cappy, have been decided by 1 run. So small things matter.
In addition, Javi was very good at second base. And they ran that tag play with the pickoff. David Ross fires down to Javi Baez as Rizzo gets the fielder's glove, and he's 30 feet from home plate, and he makes the snap tag on Connor Gillespie. Javi Baez really played exceptionally well last night.
Well, he embraced the moment, and, you always wonder what players, young players in particular, are going to feel that first time out. Not that this was his first postseason, but the first game of this particular postseason. You got to control those emotions. And I'll tell you what, it was so interesting, and I saw this from a few Cubs players, and I do expect better results offensively tonight. They looked more under control than even last year. And Javi was absolutely one of those guys. I kept telling you about his tempo, his pace in the box. He looks like he's going to do something tonight. Base hit the other way, home run to left field. He was in that zone. Nothing seemed to be phasing him. And, this is the one dynamic that you can create in baseball where you say it's a little bit bigger than the regular season. It can affect players, even though they've been doing this for a little while.
All right, time for our first poll question for you. Here's our question for you. Again, mobile, tablet, laptop. Go to your computer, csnchicago.com/vote. Here's your choices. What is your favorite home run from the Cubs postseason over the last couple years? Would it be the Kyle Schwarber bomb onto the video board? How about Javi's home run from last night? Or what about Jorge Soler's blast Game 2 last year in St. Louis, way up onto the berm against the Cardinals? How would you vote on it?
I honestly, I'm a kind of a man of the moment. I kind of usually live my life that way. I'd go with Javi Baez's home run last night. We saw about 200 pitches and no score that led us to that moment. We were waiting on pins and needles for about the 5th inning on, wondering what was going to crack the seal on this series and the scoring in this series, and it came down to a Javi Baez home run that was. I told you about that moment where we were suspended in time. I felt it. It was incredible. Everybody almost was holding their breath. And as soon as it hit that basket, it was just like so thunderous, like nothing I'd ever experienced.
Well, the Soler one was neat for me because we were in St. Louis, and to beat the Cardinals and to see that bomb land on the berm in deep center field. And then the Schwarber one here on the video board has been immortalized. The ball's encased in plastic. For a while, it was up on top of the video board. So if I had to pick of these 3 magnificent home runs, I'd probably have to go with the Schwarber blast, simply because it was so titanic and it was just so meaningful to so many fans.
Well, I agree. It absolutely did. I feel like those 2 home runs represent our arrival, the Cubs' arrival, this whole thing that's going on here in Chicago on the north side, the arrival of the team back to contention and that we belong and that, yeah, we can do this too. I felt like last night maybe meant a little bit more because everything that's led us to this moment, the 103-win season, kind of put us in a position where you're like, we got to make Jon Lester's incredible start last night stand up and, get a win. And without that, I'm not sure we get it, really.
All right, let's talk about Jon Lester. The Cubs only needed 1 run last night to win. That's all they got. That's all they needed because Jon Lester was magnificent. Johnny Cueto was great too, but Jon Lester had some traffic early. They got a bunt single to start the game. Wipe him out on a caught stealing. Pick another guy off on a leadoff hit from Connor Gillespie. But at the back end of that start, 13 consecutive hitters is how he finished the night, setting them all down. Jon Lester was simply tremendous.
He was, and honestly, probably could have finished the ball game. I mean, I get it. You got to roll this Chapman, use him. But certainly, Jon Lester was pitching well enough to finish that ball game. And you're right. It felt like he was really good early and great late. I mean, it was almost like, here we go. He's even getting better as we go on. The fastball command was there. Got a little bit of traffic early. David Ross picked him up a couple times. Got some defensive plays behind. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot there, Cappy. It wasn't like they were stringing together hits. They were just at the front end of innings. So we got a little concerned as he got himself into the stretch, but we got out of those things, and it was good to see. Jon was dialed in. I mean, here's the thing. All season long, we've watched him command his fastball. The 2-seamer, the 4-seamer, that little bit of a cutter, used it to both sides of the plate. He did a fantastic job last night, and there was one moment for me about halfway through the game where, he and the home plate umpire were not seeing things particularly eye to eye. He had fallen behind. I think it might have been Hunter Pence, but there was a couple of borderline pitches right there. Sometimes guys find the middle of the plate there. Sometimes guys find the corner. He found the corner once again. It's what he's been doing all season long. He didn't give in. He was able to bend a little bit, but he didn't give in to those moments and honestly got right back into his game again.
All right, time for the third member of our crew. Here is Kelly Krall with our Coors Light game report.
Thanks, Cap. Well, Lester and Cueto, a tough act to follow, but if anyone can do it, it might be the guy the Cubs are trotting out there tonight. Kyle Hendricks has been absolutely magnificent here at Wrigley Field. 9-2, a 1.32 ERA in 15 games. Bruce Bochy using the Maddox-esque comparison yesterday, and he'll be opposed by ex-Cub Jeff Samardzija, who knows this park all too well also. But for Hendricks, he considers himself a much different pitcher now than he was this time a year ago, and that's giving him even more confidence as he heads to the Hill tonight.
It's a dream come true, really. It was a dream come true last year just to be pitching in a playoff game. But for the team, for Joe to have confidence in me to hand me the ball for this game is big. Like that being said, you don't make that big of a deal out of it. On the other hand, you got to know you got to go out there, keep your simple thoughts, and just pitch the same game at the end of the day.
I think it makes for nice headlines, but like you said, outside of Riz and T. Wood and a couple other guys, it's essentially a new team. So a lot of the young guys that weren't up in the show yet when I was there, and so I didn't really get to know them too much. Yeah, but got to know Baez a little bit. He's a great kid. I got to know Chris a little bit, when he came in camp, and then we sent him out. So yeah, it's a lot of new guys over there, and outside of Tim Buss and and Baez and Boers, it's pretty much new guys.
Joining me now, our Cubs insider Patrick Mooney covered Jeff Samardzija for a long time here in a Cubs uniform, and I have a feeling he not only is excited to take the mound in this sort of situation, Patrick, but he'd really like to get after the Cubs still once again, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Jeff is definitely a self-motivated guy who always thought he should be a #1 type starter with a 9-figure contract. Even when he was being shuttled back to Iowa as a reliever, he always had this innate sense of confidence. That's why he's gotten to this point. And, Jim Hendricks saw him play football at Notre Dame. He was on the sidelines hearing him scream at USC defensive backs in that Bush push game. He always framed him as this bright lights kind of big city guy, and we'll see how Jeff rises to the occasion.
It is game 2 of the NLDS. For Patrick Mooney, I'm Kelly Kroll. Let's go ahead and send it back to you, Cap.
All right, time for our Bona pitching matchup. And we look at Jeff Samardzija against Kyle Hendricks. Look, Kyle has been phenomenal here at Wrigley. He's been phenomenal everywhere, but he's even better at home.
Well, there's no doubt about that. He's pitched very, very well this year. 16-8 on the season, 2.13 ERA. Wrigley Field, 9-2 with a 132 earned run average. There are definitely things that stand out, Cappy. He's only given up 4 home runs here. He's just done a masterful job. He talks an awful lot about simplifying his mechanics and finding a rhythm. It makes sense. You make half your starts here at Wrigley Field to find that consistency, and he's been so good about it this year with that fastball command in particular.
Where do you have Kyle on the list of Cy Young candidates? Obviously, Jon Lester's on that list. Max Scherzer, Kenley Jansen. Bumgarner's going to get some support. I mean, there's some elite arms. Kyle's numbers are as good or better than anybody.
Absolutely. I have him in my top 3 right now without crunching the numbers. I mean, that's usually an exercise I do as we'll get a little bit closer to the end of the postseason to start to look at guys. Right now, in my mind, he clearly is there. He has done nothing to really pull himself out of that list. I think a lot of people were waiting, the Scherzer, the dominance, the strikeout totals, the high inning total as well, what he means to the Nats, Jon Lester, what he's accomplished here. Kyle Hendricks is absolutely in the conversation. He has not fallen short. Maybe he doesn't have he has a few less strikeouts than the other 2 guys, but he is right now in my top 3 for sure.
All right, let's talk about ex-Cub Jeff Samardzija, who actually had met with Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer last winter, entertained, taking a shorter deal and coming back to Chicago again, back to the north side, and instead he gets a $90 million deal to pitch for the Giants, and he's been good, but not spectacular, but better the last part of the season.
Well, Bruce Bochy, his manager, basically said he is throwing the ball as well as anybody entering the postseason. Now, of course, I think he's playing he's my guy kind of card. I get it, but he really has 2.95 ERA in the month of September. Big start against the San Diego Padres that's leading us into this moment. His secondary pitches are back. That's the one thing that he lost through some of his struggles, but Jeff Samardzija's on a nice little run right here. But let's remember, he did pitch here at Wrigley Field at the front end of September. I believe it was September 1st or 2nd. Didn't go so well. There was a 47-pitch first inning for Jeff Samardzija. I anticipate you're going to see the Cubs try to duplicate that approach and see if they can't wear him down and get him out of there quick.
He is a power guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to sit. If he gets loose enough, he's going to sit 95 to 97 tonight. He'll be amped up. He'll be ready to go. He's got a really good splitty. What do the Cubs have to do to make him very uncomfortable out there?
Well, and it's a good point. I'm glad you actually brought that up. He's not throwing his splitty as much as he used to. That's the one thing that's different about Jeff Samardzija since he's left the Cubs. If you remember, Cubs fans, Jeff Samardzija, fastball splitty, did it an awful lot. He's actually throwing that pitch a lot less. He's using more of a cutter now and occasionally using a slow breaking ball. I'm curious. My belief is that you're actually going to see that a few more times tonight. That might be a little bit of the new Jeff Samardzija. We'll see what goes on. But what the Cubs do particularly well against him, Cappy, is they battle him. It's not always just kind of keying in and getting hit after hit after hit. It's fouling off the tough pitches. He is around the plate. He does not have that propensity to get really wild at times. At times, he gets wild in the strike zone. But what Cubs hitters can do is battle him. And that's what they did in that 47-pitch first inning back in September, was they fouled off a ton of tough pitches, and they got themselves into counts where they could do a little bit of damage.
All right, when we come back, we will have the lineups for you. You'll find out what Joe Maddon's going to do with his guys behind pitcher Kyle Hendricks. Same thing for Bruce Bochy and the Giants. Cubs a 1-0 series lead. We'll be right back on Comcast.
Cubs Pregame Live is presented by Fields Auto Group. Fields matters because you matter. See Fields first. FieldsAuto.com.
I'm Dan Fields of the Fields Auto Group. We've prepared a Joe Madden Signature Edition vehicle. It will be raffled off at the end of the season with the proceeds going to many of Joe's favorite charities.
But not before I have the pleasure of driving it to and from the ballpark. Thank you, Dan, and everyone at Fields Auto Group for this special vehicle and for making this all possible.
For official raffle rules and complete details on how you can win this Joe Madden Signature vehicle, go to fieldsauto.com.
It is an honor for Fields Auto Group to help good causes like Cubs Charities and Misericordia. Fields matters because you matter.
When you're on hold, your business is on hold. That's why Comcast Business doesn't leave you there. When you call, a small business expert will answer you in about 30 seconds. No annoying hold music. Just a real person, real fast, whenever you need them. So your business can get back to business. Sounds like my ride's ready.
Don't get stuck on hold. Reach an expert fast. Comcast Business. Built for business.
Hello? This is she.
Is that the doctor?
Okay, wow, really? It's two? That's great news, thank you.
It's two?
Yes, it's two. It's 2 for 1 windows at Feldco.
Feldco is offering 2 windows for the price of 1, with no money down and no interest until 2018.
2 windows for the price of 1, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866 for Feldco.
Some things are simply impossible to ignore. The strikingly designed Lexus NX Turbo and Hybrid, the SUV that dares to go beyond utility. This is the pursuit of perfection.
All right, welcome back. Time for Built for Business, presented by Comcast Business. And last night, Javier Baez became just the 12th player to hit a home run in a 1-0 postseason victory. Among the others to accomplish that rare feat, Mike Napoli with the 2013 Red Sox, Mike Schmidt with the Phillies back in 1983, and Casey Stengel for the Giants in the 1923 World Series. Comcast Business is built for business. All right, welcome back here on our Cubs postseason live pregame show, brought to you by the great people at the Fields Auto Group. He's Todd Hollingsworth. I'm David Kaplan. Time for our Ameristar Casino and Hotel starting lineup. And here is the lineup card Joe Madden is going to trot out the home plate with. Pretty much the same as yesterday. Fowler in center, Bryant at third, Rizzo at first, Zobrist in left, Russell at short, Hayward in right, Baez at second. The only change, Contreras will catch, and then obviously a different starting pitcher, Kyle Hendricks. Let's talk about Wilson Contreras. Had a very solid rookie year.
Yeah, he has. He's really earned this start. I think originally, if you think back, and I love to do this, kind of, we train our minds to think certain things. When he burst onto the scene here this season, did you think Contreras had a shot at starting game 2 of the DS this year? I know I didn't. Admittedly, he has earned everything that he has gotten himself here at the big league level. His passion, enthusiasm for the game, his control of the pitching staff, his control of the running game. My, oh my, he has done a fantastic job. I am in no way surprised to see him behind the plate tonight, and I honestly expect some big things. A lot of times you get into these series, Cappy, and everybody thinks that the marquee players are the ones that, are supposed to, do the big damage in these games. But a lot of times you find out guys like Javi Baez, who are talked about, maybe behind the, the Bryants and the Rizzos and whatnot. You just kind of get used to it. Like Contreras, to me tonight, he's kind of my sleeper pick. I'm like, he may have a big game, and nobody's thinking he's supposed to. He's down there in the 8-hole. He doesn't belong there on anybody else's team. If he's on the Giants, he's in the middle of their lineup. But that's where he's at in this lineup, and he can have major, major impact tonight. So I'm excited to see him get his first postseason start.
All right, let's talk about Addison Russell. Hit just 238 this year, but drove in nearly 195 RBIs, Gold Glove caliber defense, and he is a guy that has the ability to take the ball to the ballpark.
Well, we know that about him. I think Addie's really kind of proven to a lot of us, and we watch him every day, Cappy, that he can be a little streaky at times. And I think right now you're kind of watching him warm up. For me, he's a guy that if he gets rolling here early in this DS, we can watch him take it all the way through the World Series. And I'm really hoping that he kind of gets that bat going tonight. When he gets hot, he can carry the lineup a little bit.
I got out here about 3 o'clock today. I walked into the stadium, and there's a couple guys doing side sessions, and then there's a guy in deep left field, and he must have fielded 50 fly balls or ground balls hit to him, hitting cutoff men, throwing to various bases, going back, working around the ivy, and I look, and it's Ben Zobrist with Dave Martinez then coming out to left field and instructing him on certain things. I said, well, it's obvious somebody's in left field today. So they are really making a concerted effort, make him as comfortable as they can.
Well, and there's a lot of things that you have to consider here as an outfielder in Wrigley. I mean, things are different this time of year than they are at the beginning of the year. In the summertime, the winds blow a little bit differently. The temperature matters in the air as well as far as how that ball travels. So, you know, we saw him last night. I thought he made a couple decent plays. There was the one play that obviously got a little bit away from him. You just want to be as comfortable and familiar, you know, out there as you possibly can be. So the idea is repetition is a good thing. It's just like infielders. A lot of times we talk about it in spring training. You see guys take 200, 300, 400 ground balls. In the outfield, it's very much the same way. You want to challenge yourself with everything that you can prior to the game so that when you get in the game, your heart rate doesn't start to race and you start to lose your bearings a little bit. You just want to be able to be fluid and ready to react. And I think that's what he was preparing himself for.
Be interested to see if the situation is the same later.
Oh, he'll make that play. He'll make it.
Albert Almora comes in.
Oh, that might be true. That might be a possibility.
All right, let's look at the Giants lineup. Their great manager, Bruce Bochy, will trot out the home plate with this lineup card. Span will get the start in center tonight instead of Gorkys Hernandez. Belt at first. Posey's catching. Pence in the cleanup spot playing right. Brandon Crawford's at short. Angel Pagan's in left. Connor Gillespie's at third. Joe Panik is at second. And in the 9-hole, former Cub, Notre Dame wide receiver, former White Sox, it is Jeff Samardzija. Let's talk about Denard Span because he gives you some serious speed.
Well, he can, right? He's a little injured this year, but he is vital to their success. That's one thing you know. When he's out there, .295 batting average against the righties this year. Very, very good hitter. They brought him in to do a certain thing, play center field and to lead off for him. When he's rolling right, and he has started to pick it up in September, things can start to happen for this offense. Listen, we've told you, they don't have isolated power with a lot of individuals in this lineup. They have to create their offense. You've got to get a guy on base regularly. When you've got that going, we're Span at the top, Belt's starting to see the ball, it becomes a dangerous combination because we know what Buster Posey can do. Certainly Hunter Pence very, very good as well. But it's always about a collective effort, and that's really what it comes down to for me. If he's starting to get on tonight, he can create problems for the Cubs.
Quickly, your thoughts on Buster Posey. You know, he didn't hit well over 300. We're used to seeing that from him. Right. But last night in the 9th, he nearly tied the game with a double off Chapman, almost hit it out. This guy's still an elite player.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's an elite player. The thing with Buster Posey is that you just got to be careful where you pitch to him and when you pitch to him because he can change the course of a game. I was thinking back to the series they had against the Los Angeles Dodgers leading into the postseason before the Giants had never gotten there yet. He had to be big for them, and he came up with some really, really big base hits the other way. So be very careful. He seems to be heating up right now.
He also had a bit of a brain cramp on the bases last night. After the game, he said that the reason he did not score on that play was he held up because he thought Zobrist was going to field it on one hop, and he did not want to get caught between second and third. And of course, the ball bounced away from him, and he probably should have been scoring if he had been busting it from first base all along.
It's a bad read either way. I mean, I guess that's the end result. I mean, that kind of admits to, what he thought might ultimately be happening. But you got 2 outs right there in that situation. It really doesn't matter. You need to have an aggressiveness with 2 outs that you should have that you don't have with the other outs, with the idea that you're going as fast as you can until you have to stop. Bottom line is this, there's still 2 outs in that situation. He doesn't make that play, he probably scores. So whether he saw it one way or the other, there should have been more of an aggressiveness in his approach to that play.
No question. For more on the Giants defense, let's go back again. Here's Kelly Crawl.
Thanks, Cap. Javier Baez provided the offense, but it may have been David Ross's defense that made the biggest impact on the Cubs' NLDS Game 1 victory. The oldest guy on the field putting on a clinic behind the plate, throwing out his 5th and 6th runners of the season. That, of course, after the Giants led off the 1st and 3rd innings with hits. And it was Jon Lester who had been saying all season long in the playoffs, the difference will be pitching and defense. He did his part, 8 scoreless innings, while his battery mate basically eliminated San Fran's run game.
David, he's such a, competitor back there. I've seen it for a while now, so I kind of expect it from him. I mean, he's his last year, he's almost 4 years old, and he's, as one of the best arms in the league.
We've done a great job as a team of, not making mistakes, being lackadaisical or being afraid to try and go make a play. If we're going to make a mistake or if a ball's going to get by or something like that, we're going to do it aggressively. And we take a lot of pride in that with each other, and it helps keep us loose, helps keep everybody involved in the game. The way Rossi and our catchers like to throw the ball around the infield, trying to keep runners on their toes and just keep everybody heads up.
And let's not forget the game Rossi called as well. Very impressive. And guys, here's a fun little historical nugget for you. Grandpa Rossi becoming the first Cubs catcher since Gabby Hartnett in 1935 to have a pickoff and caught stealing in the same postseason game. And tonight, he'll be the Cubs' biggest cheerleader. How about that? Let's go ahead and send it back over to you, Cap.
All right, thank you, Kelly. And we welcome former Cub pitcher. He was a seventh-inning star last night singing the seventh-inning stretch. He's also with the MLB Network. He is our guy, Ryan Dempster. Good to see you. How much fun did you have up there last night, you and Woody?
Oh, my gosh, man. We were talking about it just like, we're like, wow, we're really here. Like, it's our turn now. You see the ex-players that come through and to get a chance to go up there and be up there and sing this stretch. Now we're the old guy, So it was a lot of fun. And, to do it at game one of a playoff game like that, such an electric night, and to be a part of all those festivities and do it with a great friend in Kerry Wood, I just had an absolute blast up there.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, again, one thing that we all seem to talk about when our careers are over is the loss of adrenaline. The intensity that we get, when we go out there to play every day, we can't duplicate it anywhere else in life. I've got to believe that you probably found a little bit standing up there in front of everybody last night.
Oh, my gosh. Earlier this year I did a bit where I did it as Harry Carey. Piece of cake.
Right.
I was like in character. I didn't feel like myself. Last night I was so nervous.
Right.
I'm running up there, going up the concourse, and I was absolutely terrified. And I was like, all right, Woody, you're going to lead this. He's like, no, I'm not. You're leading this. So it was definitely that shot of adrenaline. Right. It was fun to have.
Let's talk about Kyle Hendricks tonight. What does he have to do to get over the jitters? I know he's pitched once before in the playoffs or twice last year. What does he have to do to manage the emotions, I guess?
Yeah, I think too, it's that first inning. Get that first inning out of the way to realize you just get back in and everything's kind of status quo. What you've been doing all year plays, and that's executing pitches and going out there and changing speeds and keeping the ball in the fat part of the zone, which, as we saw throughout the course of the regular season, he did an incredible job of. Rely on your defense. You got the best defense in the league, so let him hit it and let him make the plays. And I think if he does that, you're going to see good results. He's going to have his hands full. This Giants team is one of the best teams in baseball, obviously, and they're playing hot right now. So you go out there and just execute your pitches and just, he's so good at it. You look at him, he's so good at staying calm, staying focused, and realizing, hey, it's just one pitch at a time, the task at hand, and I'll get results if I do that.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more collectively, because I think, Demp, you can relate to this. And, I was thinking about this last night. It always happens every postseason. We talk about nerves, and everybody says, how do you control the nerves? And how do you handle all the pressure and the limelight, everything that goes into a playoff start? And I always think of the bullpen guys. You think they're always complaining that they're not getting enough work, or they're getting too much work, and I always think the postseason's such an interesting dynamic. Like last night, Aroldis Chapman's the only guy in either one of these bullpens that pitches. We come into tonight, I look at it and think maybe that's a possibility, but then you got a day off. Like, if you're a bullpen guy, how do you deal with the difference that you have in the postseason than what you have during the regular season? Because you manage the work, your managers know that, but you get to the postseason, it's pretty easy to get forgotten down there, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You might go down there and not pitch until a game 5 or a game 7, and you have to stay sharp. Throwing your side works, your flat grounds, making sure that you're just staying as sharp as you can possibly stay, because there's going to come a time in the series, it might be one hitter, it might be an inning, it might be a big situation. Everybody looks at a high leverage situation where a guy comes in and maybe with the bases loaded and gets out of it, but it might be down 1. And what you do, you keep the team right there for an inning or two. A guy like Trevor Cahill is capable of going extended innings and maybe comes in, when you're losing, and comes in for 2 innings, keeps the game right where it's at. The next thing you know, gives you a chance to come back. So you just have to stay mentally focused, mentally sharp, and know that when it's my time, I'm ready to go, because physically I've done what I need to do to get ready.
Last one, you came in studio with me one day and you said, look, I don't want to hear about the pressure and the 108 years. You just worry about what you got to worry about that given batter. Take the fans through that, because some of them freak out. Maybe even some of the broadcasters.
Yeah.
They freak out.
Absolutely. And I think, at the end of the day, I talked about this the other day. There's going to come a time during these playoffs, it might be tonight, it might be on Monday, it might be somewhere during the playoffs, where it's going to look like, A, you're not going to win the game. It might look like you're not even going to win the series. That's just a fact. The Kansas City Royals won the World Series last year. 8 games out of the 11, they were losing the game. That series in Houston, where they looked like they were losing the series, and they came back. So those are the moments and those are the times where, as a fan, we need you as players. We need that adrenaline rush. It's not, I mean, we love it when we're winning by 5 and you're cheering. That's great, but we don't need you then. We're winning the game by 5. We need you to rally, not put your head between your legs and go all quiet and scared, because those moments are going to happen. They're inevitable. Did you think that after having a curse or whatever you want to call it, a streak of 108 years of not winning, that is going to be easy? It's going to be a really, really hard thing, and it's going to take a collective group, a bunch of players who go out there and execute, and a fan base like last night. Man, they were so great. The fans were incredible last night, the way they were on their feet. Every time Lester got 2 strikes, every time a hitter was 3-2, anytime they were on their feet cheering, and the guys love that. They feed off that energy. That's home field advantage. Keep bringing that, keep having fun with that, and enjoy the ride. Enjoy today, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Enjoy just today's game.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dem.
Yeah.
That's our guy, Ryan Dempster. We've got to grab a timeout. We still got a whole lot to do. Holly's Keys and a whole lot more, and our key performers. All coming up. It's our postseason pregame show. Cubs postseason live right here on CSN. Be right back.
When you visit Canals BMW, your toughest decision is which BMW will you drive home? A sporty BMW convertible? BMW sedan? BMW coupe? Or one of these BMW high-performance luxury models? And of course, everybody can get into one of these beauties. Canals BMW. Outstanding selection, competitive pricing, always a great decision.
If it rains and it storms, you might lose TV. No shows tonight when there's snow or high winds or even hail. Kiss your shows goodbye.
We actually have Xfinity, so weather isn't a problem.
Don't get left behind with DirecTV. Xfinity gives you reliable TV service, rain or shine. Sign up today or get started with this great offer. Call or go online today.
Attention blood thinner users. Thousands of blood thinner users may have been exposed to serious risk by these dangerous medications. If you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered serious internal bleeding, call right now. Call Nightline Legal to speak with an experienced attorney for a free consultation. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait. Call right now.
Call 1-800-496-9019. Again, that's 1-800-496-9019.
You may not be a prepper now, but you will be. Whether the next disaster is man-made or wrought by Mother Nature, you need a plan. WiseFoodStorage.com's emergency gourmet meals are made in the USA, delicious, easy to prepare, just add water, and packaged and proportioned perfectly, eliminating waste and creating a shelf life of up to 25 years.
Get your free sample now. Call in the next 15 minutes and get your free survival guide. Call 800-793-8309.
All right, time for our ATI injury report. Fortunately, everybody healthy. One-injured players become a big part of this year's team. It's Kyle Schwarber, who was hurt in the 3rd game of the season. In the 2015 postseason, Schwarb's 9 for 27, 5 home runs, and 8 RBIs. And it is also just about time for you to get interactive with our show once again. Go to your laptop, your mobile, your tablet, your mainframe, whatever you've got. Go to csnchicago.com/vote. A couple minutes, Holly and I'll have another question for you for a live fan vote. And welcome back in here to Wrigley Field. It is Cubs postseason live. I'm David Kaplan. He's Todd Hollinsworth. Kyle Hendricks has had simply a magnificent season. He may win a Cy Young. He'll certainly finish somewhere in the top 5 in the voting. How has Kyle emerged from where he was a year ago to where he finds himself today, the Game 2 starter for the team with the best record in baseball? Our Luke Stuckmeyer has more on Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle's one of the best pitchers in the National League right now. Nobody's talking about it.
But if Kyle Hendricks keeps his current pace, people will be. In a rotation headlined by Jake Arrieta and Jon Lester, Hendricks just might be the Cubs' most consistent starter in 2016. Despite taking a step forward this season, Hendricks is just fine with taking a backseat to the attention.
I've always been that under-the-radar guy, probably because of the stuff, which is fine with me. You know, I'm just here trying to worry about, you know, keep my consistency going, work on what I can work on, control what I can control.
While Hendricks admits to not having overpowering stuff, the Dartmouth grad gets his advantage in the classroom, using his days in between starts to rely heavily on analytics and scouting reports, prepared by catching coach Mike Borzello. It's something he believes puts him over the top.
Oh, it's immense. I mean, I'm not the guy that goes out there and going to throw 98. You know, I don't have the stuff that's going to beat you necessarily, so I think I need to pitch to report, or at least, you know, I need a report to make me successful. So the work he puts in, I think it helps me probably the most out of anybody on this team, just because I need it so much.
Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss. A dazzling changeup. Big strikeout for Hendricks.
Each one for each team takes hours. It's a lot of work. So it's broken down into, you know, how you start a guy, how you finish a guy, in between counts, kind of what you do. So I take his information, all he gives me, and then I start watching video. But, you know, it's a really good baseline for me. Then I start looking at actual physical, you know, video, seeing guys' swings, what they actually look like, and how they play into that game plan, I guess, that's on paper. Then just see what weapons, you know, that he puts in that plan that are mine that I can use.
Being smart helps, you know, having a good memory, recall on things that were good, things that didn't go so well. But I think the one thing that people misinterpret is that this guy's got an internal burn and a competitiveness in him that really allows him to go out there and compete on an every start basis. He's looking at what the other starters are doing on our staff as well as other starters around the league, and he's applying it.
Maddox comeback sinker, and he gets a couple of guys on that pitch.
I remember when the Cubs made the trade for you, the first name that came up was Greg Maddox. It's a pretty good name to be linked to for a pitching style.
I did watch Maddox. It was towards the end of his career, but noticing how he pitched, how he used his two-seam, I was still in high school, so I wasn't throwing a two-seam yet. But just taking in those games and watching how he attacked hitters and attacked teams, I guess, overall lineups, I did learn a little bit from that. And now that I'm here, I think I'm starting to realize more and more the true genius he really was as a pitcher.
Whether Hendricks becomes the next Mad Dog is to be determined, but one thing is certain. The trade that brought him to the Cubs in 2012 kick-started his big league career, and it opened the door to an information superhighway.
Your path to the big leagues, it's different for everybody. There's a lot of luck involved. For me, getting traded over here, you know, was part of that. But being part of this organization, I feel so lucky because I don't think any other team really does it the way we do it, especially with the reports and all the information we have, like you were saying. So for me, that being what I need and for me being on this team, it's a perfect fit for me, and I'm really lucky to be here.
All right, so that brings us to our next Cubs fan poll question. Grab your tablet, your mobile, your laptop. Is Kyle Hendricks going to win the Cy Young in 2016? Yes or no? You'll see the vote tabulations right on your screen. How do you vote there, my friend?
Well, I'm not sure, you know, and again, without looking at all the numbers, because I haven't done that yet, but, you know, my feeling is this. I'm not sure he beats Jon Lester. And, you know, to start there, that's probably the answer that stands here. So you're asking if he's going to win? Probably not. I know the one thing he doesn't have, he has not accumulated enough strikeouts, probably in comparison to a couple guys that have. I mean, you also look at Scherzer. That's the one thing. It becomes the argument. What do you like more? Do you like the lower ERA, or do you like the fact that Scherzer threw 50 more innings, almost 50 more innings than Hendricks does? So, you know, there's some tough decisions, but the fact that I think he doesn't have enough strikeouts might work against him. Think Zach Greinke last year. Jake Arrieta got hot and rolled. He certainly had done it maybe a little bit more, but that was the one thing against Greinke, was that he hadn't accumulated enough other things other than that ERA.
If I have to vote, I'm going to say that he may be deserving of it, but that he will not win it. Jon Lester's a great name. I think Max Scherzer also makes it.
I think that's your top three right there, yeah.
Those are, for me, the three. Kenley Jansen will also get some support. I don't see Jake Arrieta in that top 3 or 4, but if I had to vote right now, I'd say do what you did this year again next year, and the voters may pay a little bit more attention. There you go. So that's our thoughts. We're both saying deserving candidate, but probably doesn't win it. You cast your votes. We've got to take a timeout. We come back. We'll be joined by the legendary voice from NBC Sports, Bob Costas, baseball guru, will be with us next here on our pregame show. Be right back.
This rusty mess isn't going anywhere. Don't trust it to just any cleaner. Trust CLR. CLR makes quick work of the toughest jobs, dissolving crusty white buildup so your shower runs like new. CLR cuts through hard water buildup and helps keep your washer running clean. CLR also earned the EPA's Safer Choice seal, so it's safer for your family. Trust the power of the CLR family and trust your clean to CLR. CLR is available at these fine retailers.
Did you just see that?
That was awesome.
We have to try it.
Okay.
Okay, mine's not working. Maybe you have to bump it.
Oh, yeah, do the bump it thing.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
You can take money out using the BMO Harris app.
You want to buy a hairless cat? There's a pet store down the street.
Cool.
I think she said BMO Harris app.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
When your phone is your debit card, that's the BMO effect. BMO Harris Bank. We're here to help.
You know the feeling. The rush of every roll, every flip, sip, bite, note, and night. You know the feeling. Get it at Ameristar.
It is I, Count Babila, and my girlfriends, here to save you big money on a new Toyota. Hurry in now to Oakbrook Toyota.
During our sales spectacular, lease a 2017 Toyota Camry for only $189 a month or get 0% financing.
Bob Rohrman. Bob Rohrman's Oakbrook Toyota in Westmont, only 5 minutes west of the Tri-State on Ogden Avenue.
All right, it is 25 minutes until game time. There's still time to give Felco a call. 866-4FEL-DCO. Welcome back on Comcast Sportsnet. I'm David Kaplan with Bob Costas. You are a baseball guru. You love this sport. It's in your heart. What is your take on what's going on here at Wrigley Field? The Cubs have gone from a 100-loss team in 2012 to baseball's best.
Yeah, they are the best team. I've said this before. All season long I've been saying they're not just the sentimental favorites. They should be the actual favorites on paper. Last night, an epic game. Cueto and Lester were both superb. The Baez ball, I thought, was bound for Waveland. Hit it right into the teeth of the wind and barely got into the basket. But that's all it took. So a great start for the Cubs to win 1-0 in that fashion.
Do you like the format, the way it's set up? Because you win 103 games, and yet you lose last night. Wow. You know, the advantage could flip so quickly.
This is not a pro-Cubs thing. It's a general baseball thing. I like the idea of the second wild card because it makes a more appropriate distinction between being first and being the wild card. You want to avoid that knockout wild card game at any cost, and the wild card game itself can be very dramatic, as we've seen just this past week. But the one change that I would make is I'd make that first round a best of 7. Why should the first round be a best of 5 when it's the only one that, by definition, involves the third best division winner and the wild card? What I would do is make it best of 7. You'd have to shorten the regular season to maybe 158 games, and there's an argument to be made for that because the schedule is too jam-packed and it drains the players too much anyway. So you make it best of 7. In the process, you create possibly an additional 8 postseason games to sell to network television. But more important, when the team with the best record plays the wild card survivor, then the format, instead of 2-3-2, is 2-2-3. It appropriately advantages the team that had the best record over the course of a long season. It makes it an appropriately steeper hill for the wild card team to climb, but not impossible. But it should be more difficult for the wild card team to prevail.
If you could give the home field advantage to the team with the best record in the World Series, or leave it with the format we have now, what would you do?
You know, I have no problem with the format now because what it replaced was just as arbitrary.
Correct.
They used to alternate years.
Correct.
And to say one team has the better record, well, what if one league is stronger than the other? What if the interleague schedule one played was softer than the other? What if the division in which one played was significantly stronger than the other? I don't think comparing records across leagues makes that much difference, so I'm not that upset about the present. It's totally a flip of the coin thing with the All-Star game. Some guy from the Padres gets the base hit that decides home field advantage in the World Series, but it was just as arbitrary before because it was alternating.
How about your take on the matchup tonight? Jeff Samardzija, who obviously will be extra amped. It's a playoff game, but he was here. He's no longer here. Addison Russell plays shortstop because he was traded. Right. Bruce Bochy's an elite manager. The matchup tonight, Hendricks, Samardzija should be great.
Well, it's a significant advantage for the Cubs because not only is Hendricks the guy with the best ERA among all starters in Major League Baseball, he's been even better at Wrigley Field. So there's a pretty good chance. It's baseball, so it's harder to predict than any other team sport. But there's a pretty good chance they come out of here with a 2-0 lead.
I read a really interesting article this morning. It said 9 teams started the playoffs thinking, well, we'd really like to win the World Series. One said, we have to win the World Series to validate this special season. Otherwise, everyone says you failed again. What's your take on that?
Yeah, in some of the other years where the Cubs have come close, it's had a bit of a lightning in a bottle feel.
Correct.
This does not have that feeling. They have built a team that will contend for several years. Contended last year. No matter what happens this season, I expect them to contend for the next several years because of the way this team has been constructed. But as you say, to win 103, to lead right out of the gate, to virtually have clinched it by the All-Star break, it's World Series or bust.
What's your take on what you see going on here? Tom Ricketts buys this team, and he gave me a great quote. He said, I feel like I bought a party, and then when I showed up, there's some guy sleeping on the couch, there's empty beer cans everywhere, and I realized I bought the hangover. And I had a lot of work to do to get it to where it is today. What's your take on this?
It starts from the top. The Ricketts family loves baseball, but they want to run it as a successful enterprise both on the field and as a business, and all indications are that they've succeeded admirably on both fronts.
If Theo Epstein does navigate this team to a World Series, is he a Hall of Famer then, or is he already a Hall of Fame executive?
Well, I think that pretty much cinches it. There aren't that many executives in the Hall of Fame, but if you have that kind of track record, and it is, after all, a Hall of Fame, no matter what sabermetricians may say, it isn't just objective achievement. Some of it has to do with the lore and the mystique of the game. And if you're at the helm when the Red Sox break their curse and when the Cubs break their curse, there's extra credit.
Pretty tough to beat
involved in that. So, yeah, I think he can begin. He's a young man still, but he could begin drafting that Hall of Fame acceptance speech.
What are some of your fondest memories here? Because I've followed you for a long time. The interview you did at home plate with Harry Carey is one of the best pieces of journalism I've ever seen. So I got Ernie Banks to recreate that, and we did that at home plate. What is your memories of that interview and of this ballpark?
Well, in terms of a single game, the Sandberg game, the 2 home runs right out there to left center off Bruce Sutter, one to tie the game in the 9th, another to tie it in the 10th before the Cubs eventually won it, I think, in the 11th by a score of 12 to 11. Sandberg had 5 hits that day, including the 2 game-tying homers, and the movie The Natural had just been released that summer in 1984 with Robert Redford playing Roy Hobbs, and I think I said, as he rounded the bases or shortly after, this has to be the real Roy Hobbs that we're looking at here, because if you submitted this script for a movie, they'd reject it as too ridiculous. And I guess because the game of the week then was truly more of a national event than it is now, that's the game that kind of marked him as that year's MVP frontrunner, and he did in fact win the award.
The funny thing is that day you guys had announced the player of the game as Willie McGee, and then Sandberg does what he does, and you take it back.
Because they were in our ears. Marv Albert is standing by, I think, in Panama for some fight on Sports World. They're delaying the opening bell of the fight because the game has gone so long. It's a high-scoring game, and eventually went to extra innings. So they have us reading the credits and giving out the player of the game. And the Cardinals led 11-9, and Willie McGee had hit for the cycle. So it's not like he wasn't a deserving recipient, and then, oops, Sandberg hits the homer. Hold on, we're not going anywhere yet.
That was an unbelievable day. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it. There he is, the great Bob Costas. We'll take a timeout. Holly and I will have a whole lot more here from Wrigley. Cubs and Giants Game 2 is coming up. We'll be right back on CSN.
Is there such thing as a free lunch? Yes, as well as breakfast for our Fields customers at any of our locations with a cafe. Hello, I'm Dan Fields. There's also free loaners and free car washes. You see, a Fields customer not only gets our lowest price, they also get all of our amenities at no additional cost. There is one thing you don't receive: pressure. We simply treat people the way we want to be treated. It's a commitment to our customers we made long ago. Fields matters because you matter.
Look at it, lads. New York City. Just doesn't get any better than this.
Actually, it does. With Grubhub, you can get the best foods delivered anywhere.
Gluten-free pad thai here for Seamus.
I am Seamus.
Gluten-free?
Yeah. Can't even taste the difference. Oh, you gotta lock up that front tire.
How did DirecTV build the first-of-its-kind channel dedicated to fantasy football live on Sunday? They put together a team of in-studio experts with insightful in-game analysis of Sunday's biggest plays as they happen. Plus the latest NFL.com stats, injury news, and storylines that affect your lineups. Stay connected to the source on your favorite device while your team is on the big screen. All in a Sunday's work. Only NFL Sunday Ticket Max gives you the DirecTV Fantasy Zone. Upgrade your Sundays this fall. Channel 704.
Mike Anderson Chevrolet is the Chevy Giant.
And we have giant savings and a giant selection.
If you're looking for your first, second, or third vehicle, we have a giant lot to pick from.
Now through October 10th, get 0% financing for 72 months on remaining 16s.
We have the vehicle you want.
We promise to keep car buying fun.
Visit Mike Anderson Chevrolet in Maryville or Chicago.
Visit Mike Anderson Chevrolet in Chicago, 1 mile west of the Kennedy on beautiful Irving Park Road.
Mike Anderson Chevrolet, the Chevy Giant.
See you soon.
There were plenty of celebrities at Wrigley last night having a good old time, including, how about Bill Murray sitting behind home plate wearing a "I ain't afraid of no goat" t-shirt and hugging any stranger in sight when Javi Baez hit the game-winning home run to give the Cubs that 1-0 victory. Very nice. Also in the crowd, Blackhawks captain Jonathan Toews, who sent out this photo on Instagram with the caption, "It's playoff time, #FlyTheW." Meanwhile, R. Kelly Crow caught up with another Chicago sports icon, the coach, Mike Ditka.
What do you think about this Cubs team, Coach?
Well, I think they proved this year they're the best team in baseball. You know, people can say anything they want to say, but their consistency, their pitching, their hitting, their field, everything, they're the best team in baseball. Now they got to carry through. You know, they got a target on their back. Everybody's shooting for them now. They're the guys, so they know what they got to do, and they got the right guy leading them. Joe is the perfect manager for these guys.
You just had a moment to talk with him coming into such a big game here tonight and a postseason run they're hoping is very deep like yourself. What stood out to you about Joe and the way he's managed these guys?
Well, he's real. I mean, he understands. I mean, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, it ain't broke. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, you know, you can only put guys in position to succeed, and that's what he does. He puts them in a position to succeed. These kids can play baseball. And the best thing, I mean, I'm not an expert about anything anymore, but they're having fun doing it. That's what excites me. I mean, it looks like, boy, this is fun. When I was a kid, we have a pickup game, 5 guys go, you play us, and we had fun. They're having fun.
They are having a lot of fun.
And they're going to win the World Series, too. That's how much fun.
You heard it here first. You're claiming it. One thing, you got to see a couple of them really up close. You think they could have played for the Bears, some of these guys?
Well,
I mean, Jason Hayward, Jorge Soler.
There's a couple of them, yeah. The couple, I think he could have been a good blocking back for Walter, yeah. I wouldn't put him at guard, but blocking back, yeah.
All right, Coach, thanks for taking a few minutes. Appreciate it.
All right, Holly, there's a lot of celebs. Eddie Vedder's been on the field. Let's talk about the atmosphere around here, because you and I are here so many times, and we never take it for granted. But the buzz, the electricity in the building last night is even amped up more tonight.
Well, you know, I think back over the last 10 or 15 years, you know, you and I had a little discussion, you know, the playoffs, you know, the playoff run, what was it, 08, you know, where things just weren't alive in here like it, you know, like we felt like it should have been. I think everybody here in Chicago, everybody here last year and even this year, the effort has been there. You know, it's understanding what a playoff crowd needs to be. You need to create that home field advantage. Cappy, if I'm a visiting player right now, I want no part of Wrigley Field. I did that role. I came in here. We knew what we were coming into way back in 03. This was not an easy place to play. That atmosphere is here. When I heard the chanting of Cueto last night, I thought, oh my goodness, how does that not get to his heart? How does that not get to his spirit and make him nervous, rattle him a little bit? This crowd is so electric, and it's that, the way Wrigley Field just kind of consumes you as a player because it's right on top of you on the field. You feel what they feel. It's different in other ballparks. The newer stadiums where everything's spread out and everybody's got plenty of space. In here, you feel what they think, and that's a very important ingredient to a successful season, to World Series championship. As Ryan Dempster said, these fans are needed to help get this done.
All right, we've got to take one more final timeout on our pregame show. We come back. Holly will give us his keys to the game. We'll pick our key performers. We'll get you set. Cubs and Giants game 2. Chicago looking to grab a commanding 2-0.
When you visit Canals BMW, your toughest decision is which BMW will you drive home? A sporty BMW convertible? BMW sedan? BMW coupe? Or one of these BMW high-performance luxury models? And of course, everybody can get into one of these beauties. Canals BMW. Outstanding selection, competitive pricing, always a great decision.
Did you know your business doesn't have to suffer from slow internet? Comcast Business now offers blazing fast internet speeds up to 250 megabits per second, over 6 times faster than DSL. Get internet for as low as $59.95 a month. Call today. Comcast Business, built for business. Did you know sharing Wi-Fi with your customers could leave your business exposed? Only Comcast Business offers Wi-Fi Pro, 2 separate networks, one that's private for you and one that's public for your customers. Upgrade to Wi-Fi Pro for only $19.95 a month. Call today. Comcast Business, built for business.
If you call Chicago home, you know there's only one way to eat a hot dog. We have 2 baseball teams, but you have to choose one. And there's only one way. True Chicagoans pay. Wintrust. Bring it home, Chicago.
This Cubs injury report is brought to you by ATI Physical Therapy, taking physical therapy to a higher level. Ask your doctor about ATI Physical Therapy. Get there.
Rising from the Midwestern Plains, south of Chicago, is the award-winning Riverside Healthcare. Compassionate hands, focused on healing, helping you along life's journey. Professionals who offer hope and innovation. Experts using the latest technology to solve problems and welcome new beginnings. Seeing things clearly is the first step. Seeing that you're well is what we hold dear. Riverside Healthcare, putting well within reach.
Getting close to first pitch. It's time for Todd Hollisworth's keys to the game, brought to you by the Fields Auto Group.
All right, keys to another victory in this DS. Kyle Hendricks, ground control. We'll start there. Listen, he's one of the best at getting the ground ball. It's a big part of what they do. Baez is at second base tonight. We know exactly that when Kyle Hendricks is on, and even think back to his last start, and it was slightly, it was shaky a little bit by definition in Cincinnati. The ball was up. We got to see the ball down tonight. We got to see a lot of ground balls, and this infield doing what it can do, turning those ground balls into instant outs. That's what you want to see from Kyle Hendricks. 55% on the season ground ball rate, one of the best in the game, particularly good at Wrigley Field. Now, number 2, shark bait. You knew I was going there, right? Jeff Samardzija on the mound, making his first career postseason start. All right, faithful, you need to get rowdy tonight. Get on Jeff Samardzija and see if we can't get him rattled. When he makes mistakes, they tend to get out over the plate, not off those corners. So think aggressive, think in the zone, battle him. You're going to be dealing with some velocity tonight, but he will give you pitches to hit out over the plate. So hopefully we get those bats warmed up. And the bullpen matchups, Cappy, I really do believe you're going to see some of this going on tonight. 2 bullpens that were not really used last night out of Aroldis Chapman. Those matchups absolutely will matter. I feel like we're going to score some, there's going to be some runs scored in this game.
All right, time for our key performers. Neither of us were very good last night. You get to go first.
Well, unless we picked Javi Baez, we really had no shot. I'm going Contreras. He's going to have a big game tonight. I don't care that he's hitting 8th. I think he's the kind of player that jumps into this moment, comes through.
I go Rizzo. Why not? Love the guy. I think he has a big night. Cubs and Giants coming up. Looking for a 2-0 series lead. I'll see you on the postgame show. We'll see you flip over as soon as the game's over. Have a great night. Go Cubs.
I'm Dan Fields of the Fields Auto Group. We've prepared a Joe Madden Signature Edition vehicle. It will be raffled off at the end of the season with the proceeds going to many of Joe's favorite charities.
But not before I have the pleasure of driving it to and from the ballpark. Thank you, Dan, and everyone at Fields Auto Group for this special vehicle and for making this all possible.
For official raffle rules and complete details on how you can win this Joe Madden Signature vehicle, go to fieldsauto.com.
It is an honor for Fields Auto Group to help good causes like Cubs Charities and Misericordia. Fields matters because you matter.
Did you just see that? That was awesome. We have to try it. Okay. Okay, mine's not working. Maybe you have to bump it. Oh, yeah, do the bump it thing. Right. Okay. Yeah.
You can take money out using the BMO Harris app.
You want to buy a hairless cat? There's a pet store down the street.
Cool.
I think she said BMO Harris app. Yeah, that makes more sense.
When your phone is your debit card, that's the BMO effect. BMO Harris Bank. We're here to help.
Pat Hughes reporting from Wrigleyville Sports, where the excitement is building. Devin and Colin are choosing caps from the enormous wall of hats. Check out that selection. Chris and Tony are sporting new home jerseys with the blue pinstripes, blue hats, and sleeves. Get these ball players some trousers. Katrina is eyeing a new sweatshirt. She wants to be ready for the postseason. Across the street from Wrigley Field, Wrigleyville Sports is your one-stop shop for everything Cubs. Open 7 days a week or anytime at WrigleyvilleSports.com.
In Chicago, some things just go together, like front porches and blue W's, bricks and ivy, Waveland Avenue and souvenirs, Jake and State Farm. Like home and auto insurance with State Farm, they just go together, and they save you time and money. Just another way we're here to help life go right. Talk to a State Farm agent today.
This is she.
Is that the doctor?
Okay, wow, really? It's two? That's great news, thank you.
It's two?
Yes, it's two. It's 2 for 1 windows at Feldco.
Feldco is offering 2 windows for the price of 1, with no money down and no interest until 2018.
2 windows for the price of 1 ends soon. Hurry. Call now.
For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866 for Feldco.